Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans. Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. It is that time of year and it's getting exciting. Well, all we want for the New Orleans Saints is to be in contention. Yes, we know to go to the playoffs. We know it's going to be tough to do anything in the playoffs, but just get there. And they took a big step doing that this Sunday in a very boring game. Let's be honest, this was a tough game to watch, but they ended up winning, going away 28-6. The score is a little not indicative of how the game was because the Carolina Panthers had the ball with a chance to tie it with a touchdown and two-point conversion. Then they had the turnover, and the Saints took advantage. But, hey, a win is a win is a win. Like Gertrude Stein says about roses, we'll take it. And how about this? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did the Saints a favor and did themselves a favor as well by beating the Falcons. They had the lead all game, then they lost it at the end, and they came back and took victory from the jaws of defeat. Desmond Ridder for the Falcons had a big game, but Tampa Bay comes out on top. So here's your scenario. You got 3, 6, and 7 teams. And by the way, this was a crazy week in the NFL. 6 division leaders all lost out of the 8. That hasn't happened in a long time this late in the season. So there's hope because all these teams now, it was a long shot to even have a chance at a wild card. So now all of a sudden you have a bunch of 6 and 7 teams. So just get hot, and the Saints schedule, like we've been saying, works out. Nobody's going to be as easy as Carolina, but you know you got the Giants next week at home. Then you have at the Rams, good team, but they're still 6 and 7. At Tampa Bay, and then you end with the Falcons. So it'd be apropos to win the title, the division title, I should say, with a win over the Falcons. But at least they're in it. So now you have a chance to root, and you don't have to wear bags on your head like it looks like everybody wanted to at halftime last week. Hey, by the way, the Cowboys, give it up for them. You got to. This guy, Louisiana native Dak Prescott, has become a top-tier MVP candidate, and rightfully so. His numbers the last 7 weeks are astounding. Some of the best I've seen in ages. I'm going to say this. Their defense is stifling. They've got the great wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb. They got good complementary receivers. They got a good running game. This team is primed. The Eagles are no longer the one talked about in that division. Cowboys-Eagles, great game. They blew them out. They got that big monkey off their back. They had to get that big win. You know, they haven't had the big win, and they got it. Now they have a tough road to go. San Francisco still looks to be the cream of the crop right now, but you know how things change over there in the NFC. Hey, by the way, the Pelicans, give them some props too, because it was awful on Thursday. I'm talking awful. They got to the semifinals of the in-season tournament, and LeBron James just carved them up. He only played 22 minutes. He had 30 points and did everything else, but they looked terrible, losing by 44. And then they came back last night and beat the team with the best record in the NBA. That's right, the Minnesota Timberwolves beat them somewhat handily. It wasn't a blowout like they got blown up at the Lakers, but they won, and that's big. So they still have a winning record. Getting this team chemistry back is important, and getting over that loss and beating a good team shows me a lot. John Summerall, the new head coach for the Tulane Green Wave, he's coming on this show next week. He just got announced right there yesterday to the Tulane Green Wave faithful in the media. So he had a 23-4 record at Troy, just like Willie Fritz has done the last 2 seasons. I cannot wait to have him on this show. Also, Jaden Daniels, we know this happened. Heisman Trophy winner the second in 5 seasons for the LSU Tigers. Joe Burrow did it in 19. He's got it in 23. Congrats to him. We're going to have Wilson Alexander on this show. He was up in New York. He is the lead writer and reporter for the LSU, for the Advocate and all that. We're also going to have Molly Kimball talking holiday stuff, and restaurateur Dickie Brennan coming up next right here on Primetime Sports. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports, and it is the season, And as you know, sports is in the title, but we're also entertainment, and that means all things New Orleans. And one of the things you can't not think about when you think of the Crescent City, well, it's food, and really good food and fine dining. We have one of the best there is and there ever has been right here. The family is the Brennans. You know them. They have all restaurants of all kinds in the Fritz Quarter, Uptown, Garden District. Wherever you go, you're going to find a Brennan's restaurant. Well, here he is, Dickie Brennan. The son of Richard Brennan is here, and the nephew of Ella, correct? Good to see you, brother. How you doing, man?
Scott, it's great to be here.
It's good to see you.
Glad you're in the spirits.
I'm always in the spirit, particularly in the month of December.
It's the best time.
Is it? I mean, you got the feeling in the air, and when you go by some of the restaurants that y'all have decorated, I'm going to go ahead and say this. It's unbelievable the way they look right now. I know your marketing girl, Lindsay, sent me some pictures, and I'm like, it's just festive over there all the time.
You know, the most amazing part is my sister, Lauren Brower, and my partner, Steve Pettis, his wife, Yvette. These women have decorated these restaurants for the last 30 years. I mean, they get at it, and this wonderful guy, Linroy Gary, he helps out.
Linroy, yeah, that's right.
You know, they come in, they do one restaurant at a time, they knock it out, and then, you know, for the rest of the month, you seeing all your friends, families. I mean, New Orleans has a drive-in market for 200 miles, and I mean, it's grandfathers have driven in town with the grandkids, and it's all about eating in these wonderful New Orleans restaurants. And you know, all the company parties, you know, people are going to come, they're going to come to Tableau, and they're going to go to church, and they come to Tableau for lunch, or, you know, after mass, and just to see everybody celebrating, the restaurants looking so good. I mean, it's a special time of the year.
Now, it's interesting because there's a mystique about the Brennan name, certainly when it comes to food and restaurants. When you're growing up, I don't know, you're never thinking mystique. You're just in the restaurants working, you're learning the trade. Not sure if that's going to be your future or not, but I mean, I know they put you to work at an early age with the Commander's Palace, et cetera.
Man, first of all, I mean, we're a bunch of Irish immigrants that came out of the Irish Channel, running a bar on Bourbon Street back in the 40s, the old Absent House.
Right.
You know, and then we decided to open a restaurant, and that got interesting because the first Brennan's restaurant on Bourbon Street in the late 40s was called Brennan's French Restaurant.
Right, for Irishmen.
A bunch of Irishmen out of the Irish Channel run a bar, open a French restaurant next to Galatoire's Antoine's Arnaud's. So, I mean, we have lived the American dream, and I tell you, there's no better city to be in the restaurant business than New Orleans. I mean, culture, the people, the food, it's great.
I see that card right there, and you know, I remember, obviously, you grew up doing, obviously, some work at Brennan's and Commander's Palace, but when you look at this and which you yourself have accomplished, I mean, it's got to feel good. I mean, I remember when you first opened Palace Cafe over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was a big step for a young guy, right? I mean, tell me how that went.
You know, I mean, we're a big family, and I had 13 first cousins, and we were going to meetings with our parents trying to figure out how to evolve the company or whatever. And a couple of us, you know, were like, let me just kind of go do my own thing. And my cousin Ralph did. And then I did. My sister came with me. We took Palace Cafe with the intention of opening up a steakhouse.
Yeah.
You know, it was a dream to do a steakhouse, and we've always had wonderful men and women that work with us, and a lot of our growth is because the sous chef wants to become a chef, the assistant manager wants to become a general manager. You know, we've grown the company with incredible people, and very grateful. I mean, man, I've lived the dream, so. Very grateful.
I recently saw Lolly, and I mean, everything you think about when you think of the Brennan family is service, and the people that have worked there and branched onto their own things, whether it be other business or restaurants themselves, several of them own them, they all say the same thing. They learned from your family, and they learned the right way. And that's the thing in New Orleans, there's so many great restaurants, you got to separate yourself, and the service has to be right there.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like in anything, sports, whatever. I mean, you're a team, and it's all about taking care of each other and trying to every day, how do you become a little better? And, you know, I think my dad's generation, they didn't have the formal restaurant education.
Yeah.
And they had to learn. And instead of learning by themselves, they would take the chef with them, the general manager with them. And back in those days, that wasn't the norm. So, I mean, they were a generation ahead of themselves in empowering their team and educating their team. And it made us attract very dynamic people. And it's that philosophy, we will not change that. That works.
Speaking of dynamic, I just saw pictures they put up of your dad and you, and we not think of food legend, just a legend as a human being. That's Richard Dick Brennan right there on the left. Obviously, that's you on the right. But, you know, going back, I mean, he and his brother are the founding fathers of Bacchus. I mean, they've done a lot of things in life, but he was a superstar basketball player, not only at St. Aloysius in high school, but also at Tulane University. This guy was a stud. I mean, I've seen the clippings, the pictures. So when you think of your dad, I know he's just dad to you.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I miss the hell out of him.
I bet.
He was,
how long has it been?
10 years,
yeah, that's right.
Miss him a lot, but he's in my life more than he's ever been, and he was a great dad and just a great person. But in his sports, he never talked about it. It was his friends that would just always tell me everything about it. You know, I couldn't get him to say anything, but about himself.
Right.
But that's a generation. That's who he was, and I was proud of him, and like I said, I miss him.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, whenever his name comes up, it's almost like, yeah, that guy did it the right way, you know? And that's got to feel good because you know when his name comes up, it's always going to be something great. That's not always the case when you hear people's names.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, what did he mean to you as a father?
Well, yeah, you know, he had great vision. And the other thing was he was like a coach. He wanted to give everybody the tools they needed to do what they did. And, I mean, everybody I know has a story about something that he did with them. Paul Prudhomme was talking about it was a busy shift, and he was trying to help out expediting, and your dad came up on the other side of the line looking at the tickets, and, you know, Paul, let's make a great dessert. And Paul's like, Dick, are you kidding? We're in the weeds right now, you know.
Right.
And he said, let's do a bread pudding souffle, you know. And Paul said, man, that was it. You know, we had the conversation. Then we tried to get out of the weeds. He said, I couldn't get it out of my head. He said, I went home. I thought about it all night, sleeping. He said, I woke up. I came in. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I did it. And it's been the queen of Creole desserts in New Orleans forever.
It's crazy how things get started. Right? And by the way,
just always had something next, you know. Great ideas like pounding Bacchus and stuff like that.
I mean, I was just thinking when, you know, when you think of them and start new things. I mean, hey, the other one is the Bananas Foster. I mean, how'd that come up? I mean, where'd that start?
You know, that was way back in the early days, and the city was trying, all the produce companies were trying to break into the produce down in Central and South America.
Yeah.
In those boats, if they were going to send the fruits and vegetables, they also put a lot of bananas on and every warehouse in New Orleans was loaded up with bananas. This is back in the 50s, 60s,
sure.
Whatever. And so we would get our order, and there would always be extra bananas that they'd be given to us. And so they were trying to do it. My Uncle Owen was his best friend, Richard Foster Awning Company, Dick Foster.
Goodness, wow, okay.
Was chairman of some Clean Up the French Quarter committee, and they were having a meeting. So he said, let's do something fancy for my buddy. And so they came up with this, let's flambe the bananas in the dining room. And next thing you know, Mr. Foster eats lunch there every day, and he's like, where are my bananas? And so within a short period of time, they started calling it Banana Foster.
You know.
But it was just, it's New Orleans.
It's New Orleans.
The way we roll, it's fun, friends, trying to do things to have a good time and also make stuff happen.
You know, it's crazy because I'm on the road during the fall every weekend, and we eat restaurant every Friday, and two places that you would never think of had Bananas Foster on the menu. One did it pretty darn good. The other was like basically banana pudding. And that was basically it. I'm like, this is not Bananas Foster. But the fact is the one thing I meant to say earlier, when you hear in the weeds in the business, that means they're really busy. Because I know half the people are like, what does in the weeds mean? No, that means that they're really busy. If you're ever been in the restaurant and bar business, you know that. But hey, I want to go with, when you look at your restaurants, and there's so many, and I'm just talking about like yours that you started yourself. I mean, I love that you saved the Petite Theater and Tableau right there on Jackson Square. That to me is one of the biggest saves of all time. We needed to keep that there. And for those who don't know, Tableau is right on the corner of St. Peter and Charters, right there on the edge of the Pentabla and
Jackson Square.
And Jackson Square, right there by the Cabildo. But also, when you look at each one of these restaurants, is it like a child to you? Like, I've always wondered that because you love them all, but
Scott, everybody asks, "What's your favorite?" I'm like, "What's your favorite child?"
Right.
You know, each one was unique, and you know, we planned it and dreamed about it, did all these things, and then we gave birth and changed diapers and watched them grow up to be some productive adults. So it's definitely a family. You
know what I've also noticed, since that's a good segue right there, Commander's Palace. Yeah, Aunt Ella, I've been, there's so many things coming out, and rightfully so, documentaries and stories and the history. When you see this stuff, I mean, first, do you feel it's accurate? And B, secondly, I mean, do you enjoy seeing it all?
Our family has been very well acknowledged.
Yeah.
I grew up with living legends. I mean, my Aunt Ella certainly was an amazing lady and very, in my life, an incredible mentor. And certainly, my dad, my Uncle John was incredible. My Aunt Adelaide, the oldest sister, was just a phenomenal lady.
Yes.
She really had great ideas and influenced the family, her brothers and sisters. And I think it took us down a great path. So, I mean, it's nice to see it, but like I said, man, we're just normal people, I look at Ours Channel, and my mother grew up in Araby. I mean, come on, we're just good old New Orleanians that go to work every day, and we've been blessed.
I want to get back to Christmas, because what I love about this time of year is the spirit. You see right there, that's a great shot, because that's just another example of how they decorate things at the restaurant. The bells, the whistles, everything. It just looks good. It makes you feel you're in the spirit. But what does Christmas mean for y'all? I mean,
it's that family and seeing all these wonderful people, in the restaurants. But like the bells, it cracks me up. We started doing, the kids at St. Michael's School will, throughout the year, tie the ribbons through the bells.
Yes.
It's something that they've done for us for years. It's a great project. And now, I mean, there are people that do bell hops or whatever. I mean, they get a group together and they go to
So they put them over there, they wear them, right? And then they start.
So when you walk in any of our restaurants this time of year, we give you one of these.
Right.
And each restaurant has a different color ribbon with a
bell hop, okay, like bar hop, bell hop.
Now it's become this bell hops, and you'll see people, for a week or two into December, and they'll have 5 or 6.
That's awesome.
Of the bells. I mean, that means a lot to us.
Big time. I imagine.
Love that. Our intentions initially were to do something with St. Michael's, and now it's grown into this, to where people want to collect the bells. That's crazy.
That's very cool. That's very cool. What's the next step? What I love about it, listen, I've known you for a long time over the years, but particularly the last decade or so. When you look at New Orleans and what our city's about, I mean, I know you've lived in France, and you've been in Houston, you've been around, you travel around the world, but we have something special in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And we all know we have warts, right? But it's so unique and so culturally different than the rest of certainly America, that we have to preserve this. And I know you love your city as much as anybody I've ever been around. That's a fact. I know this. You want to keep it where it is. What do we need to do?
My daughter moved home from San Francisco 3 or 4 years ago, and with the intention of, she and her husband wanted to start and raise a family, which I have my first grandson, Meyer. So he's 18 months old. So, I mean, there's nothing better in life than being a grandpa. And so I look at the city, and my goal, my dream is that we can have a healthy community, to where someone like this 18-month-old can live in a very healthy city.
Sure.
And I think we have one of the greatest cities going for us. I think there's one thing that we need to do, and that's all of us need to come together.
Right.
And if we can get the core group in this city to come together and put our minds together, we could be the greatest city in the world. So all I want to do is connect with everybody in this city and figure out how do we make it great.
Well, we're going to make it great, and you're going to continue to do what you do. I know you're trying to build relations with everybody across the city, no matter what demographic they're in, and I appreciate that. Hey, you went to LSU. Your dad was a star at Tulane. I'm going to have you sign that one off air, but on air, you're going to be on the Brian Kelly ball. Let's go down here, get you a big Dickie Brennan signature. And as you may or may not know, since you haven't been on the show in about 7 or so years, we give gifts. And I don't know if you remember.
Not a shirt.
task performance.
Oh, that's the best.
And we always give restaurant good things too, but since you own them, we're not going to give you that, so we're going to give you 2 shirts. So Mr. Johns and Shays Dallas Shays, we're going to catch you with the next guest. But hey, I appreciate you, Dickie. Everything you do, people have no idea behind the scenes what you do to help our city continue to grow the right way. And, you know, opening places where kids can have an outlet like Nochi and things like that, where they have a cooking school, etc.
Thank you, Scott. But let me say this. Me and everybody in the city, we really enjoy watching this show. So it's going to be funny having to look at myself on your show. But thank you for having me, and keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate you, brother.
Really
all right, I know you're really busy this time of year, so it means a lot to me that you took your time to come.
Man, anytime.
All right, we're going to continue the holidays because you know what? I tend to eat a lot in the holidays because I go to a lot of parties, and then you're not always getting ready the next day. You got another party that night. You got a dinner the following night. Well, I've got someone here that's going to help us all. The way you drink, maybe a little moderate at times, and maybe pick it up a little steam later on, but not all the time. And the type of foods you eat will matter during the holidays in particular, so to keep from stacking them on too much. We have Molly Kimball from Eat Fit Nola. You know, she was just here several months ago. We said we were going to come back before the holidays. They have ways to drink, and also, hey, if you want to do this 40 days without drinking thing right after the Mardi Gras, we're going to talk about that as well. She's with Oshner Fitness. Her name's Molly Kimball. Coming up next, and don't forget, LSU segment at the end here. We've got the man who was at the Heisman Trophy. Jaden Daniels won it. He's not coming, but the man who covers him all the time is going to tell you what it was like, what it was all about to have our second Heisman Trophy winner in the last 5 years, right here on Primetime Sports.
Max Durbus Realtors has been providing commercial and industrial real estate services to its clients for nearly 100 years. Since 1934, Max Durbus has been locally owned and operated throughout the greater New Orleans area, including the North Shore, Hammond, and even the Mississippi Gulf Coast and beyond. We focus on your commercial real estate needs so you don't have to. More information is available at 504-733-4555.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll at Mid-City Lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. I enjoyed that holiday segment with Dickie Brennan so much. We're going to do another one because we're going to talk about all the great places to eat and what you can do with them. Hey, you don't have to get that big meal. You can get that smaller thing so you can do it again the next night and the next night during the holidays, because that's what the season's all about. You know, you have that Christmas party, then you got to go to your Aunt Jane's, and then there's another one down the block for the office. So we got to do it in moderation. Keep it in check so when we look at that scale on January 2nd, we're not 20 pounds heavier than we were. And there's nothing wrong with eating healthy and drinking healthy, and we have none better to do that than Eat Fit Nola creator right here, Molly Kimball. She was here back just 4 months ago, and she's back again like we promised for the holidays. And welcome back, my friend.
Yes,
it's so good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Are you in the spirit yet? Are you ready?
I am in the spirit. Yes, I am.
Because December hits, and you know, there's some years when it's hot, and I'm like, I can't get into it. But when it's cold like it is now, you know it'll probably change tomorrow. I get going, and I can't wait to go down the French Quarter, look at all the lights. It's just so much fun for me.
No, you're right. And I've actually been thinking like gifting and we do things for our neighbors. We've got like fantastic neighbors. There's so many like really cool people in our lives that you've got to think like creatively too of just how to celebrate them and lift them up too.
Well, you know, I love you said that because it's all about lifting others up, and the vibe that we have in December, at least most of us, the giving spirit, the loving spirit. I just wish we could put it in a bottle and do it for 12 months, right?
Right.
Because you do see a difference in people, certainly when it comes down to mid-December. I know we're on the 12th right now, but the last 10 days in particular, people are getting fired up, they're buying gifts, they're loving each other. I just want that to be all the time.
Right, and showing that gratitude for the people who do mean so much to us completely.
The best word ever, really, honestly, gratitude. Well, I'm grateful for this book right here. You see, here, let's get that big wide shot. Craft. That came out a little over a year ago, and I want Molly to explain what this is, what it means, and how it's going to help us.
All right, so this is the coolest thing. This is Craft the Eat Fit Guide to Zero Proof Cocktails. So you're familiar with Eat Fit, our nonprofit initiative with Oshner. We work with restaurants to put healthy options on menus. One of the things that we do every year, we've been doing it every Lent since 2016, we host an annual alcohol-free for 40 challenge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this was the first time we did it back in 2016. I was bracing myself. Like, are people gonna, it was not something that was common. You weren't hearing about dry January or dry July, sober October. These things hadn't really come our way yet. So when we proposed, hey, during Lent, do a 40-day self-challenge, do certain labs, check your blood pressure, your body composition, all this before and then at the end, I kind of braced myself of like, am I going to get some backlash here?
Right.
But there was such positive feedback. So now we've been doing it every year since 2016, and we ask our restaurants, through Lent especially, let's not have just healthy foods on the menu, but let's offer cocktails without alcohol and without sugar to make it easy for people during Lent to do it. And so it was a couple of years back, we were doing a zero proof, we call them zero proof cocktails, not mocktails. We were doing a zero proof cocktail demo the day after the kickoff party. And we have 6 cities throughout the state where people can come. We do all your labs, your physical metrics, everything there, all in one spot. 700 people come through across the state.
Really?
It's huge. And I was working with a bar expert. His name is Ethan Skaggs. We were doing a demo that night. We'd start at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's 7 at night. We've been going straight through, getting all these people through, and now we're doing a virtual zero proof demo. I was wiped out. And he's like, Molly, have you ever thought about doing a book like this?
Oh, wow.
That's cocktails, but without the sugar, without the alcohol. And I remember I looked at him, it was like maybe 20 seconds passed, because I was like, I was so wiped out from just, it was a lot to pull off. But in that moment, I was like, I love this idea.
That's how it came about.
That's how it came about. I'm actually getting together with Ethan later today. We're doing another event with Kraft. He's a brilliant bar expert. He worked with Grigri at the time.
Okay.
Eric
Great
Cook's,
place.
Love it.
Yes.
Chef Eric Cook's restaurant. And what he's really expert at, we went to our restaurants and we said, give us your best zero proof cocktails. Scott, we got back all these spritzers, club soda with a splash of something.
Sure.
And we're like, these are fine, but you can't build a book around a spritzer. So we went back to our restaurants and we said, give us your best, beautiful, high impact cocktail, period. And then Ethan went through and he flipped them to make them eat fit, so pulling the sugar out.
Right.
And so we use plant-based sweeteners to make simple syrups and such, but then also flip them to pull the alcohol out but still keep those flavors. And so that's how these beautiful drinks were born as Eat Fit Zero Proof Cocktails.
Where do you get that book? I'm just curious.
Great question. So locally, Octavia Books, Garden District Bookstore.
2 of my favorite bookstores, by the way.
Barnes and Noble,
Okay.
Our fitness center boutique at Oshner Fitness Center.
On Elmwood?
At Elmwood,
Okay.
right. So lots of our local bookstores, and then also online, eatfitcookbook.com.
Eat Fit
You can
Cookbook.
purchase it there directly. Also, we have all of our retailers listed there too.
Well, I'm glad you told me, because I grew up uptown, although I live downtown now. So, but I know about Garden District, I know about Activity. But you're in Barnes and Noble. Most of our public here watching the show will be able to get it there. And I'm gonna tell you this. At parties, sometimes there's parties all the time. I'm not against drinking at parties. I don't need to drink at every one of them, right? And I know we laughed about this earlier, but you're right. It hit a spot because we said, I hate the sound of the crinkly water. The cheap plastic they use now.
Yes.
Hopefully it's better for our environment, but whatever it is, it's just at a party.
Yes.
And when I go, even when I have it by my bedside, I grab that thing. I hate that noise.
It is that, because it's when someone's having a party, what am I going to serve that's not alcohol filled? It's the afterthought for people. So they buy the big case, and what Scott's talking about, we were joking that there's water bottles and then there's the cheap water bottles.
Yes.
And when you're at a party and it is like, you just got this crinkly plastic.
You don't feel like you're at a party anymore, at least a nice one.
Yeah, everybody else has got their pretty cocktail. So one of the things that we encourage is, if you're hosting that party, be mindful. What is someone going to have that doesn't have alcohol in it that still feels really good?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because listen, you're at a party and everybody else has got this nice holiday thing, and you said the best word, afterthought, because it's not the host's fault. They don't think about that. They're thinking about the right menu, the right kind of drinks, and making them look good, but you forget there's 20%, maybe at least, maybe up to 30 sometimes, that just don't want anything to drink, whether they don't drink at all, they can't drink, or they just don't feel like drinking that particular night. So what are some ways, give them ideas on things where they can do?
Well, of course, craft has a lot. The first third of the book is all about education. Here's how to make a simple syrup without the sugar, nothing artificial, but it's really a solid, simple syrup. So there's a lot of education. How do you do bitters without alcohol? How do you do the shrubs? How do you do all these creative things to make that elevated cocktail without the alcohol, without the sugar? There's so many resources now. Have you seen that there's all these zero-proof distilled spirits available?
Yes, I have seen that leak. Yes.
It's really cool. So like gin, tequila, rum, bourbon, all these that you can do. So you can flip it with that.
Yeah.
There's a brand called Seedlip, and they're like botanicals. They're kind of essences, and you can't really put your finger. They're not to mimic a vodka, gin, or bourbon or anything, but they give these essences of that cocktail feel. And then I'll also say like El Guapo is our local bitters company.
Right.
All of their products are 100% alcohol free. Adding just a few drops of bitters, even just to like club soda,
makes it feel like a cocktail?
It's crazy. It's just like
that's very
something extra in it. Yeah.
Well, the botanicals, obviously, when you drink gin, that's what botanicals.
Yes.
So they have you tried them? I mean, I'm just curious.
The spirits, have we tried them?
Have we tried them?
Oh yeah.
But they're zero proof.
Right. We've tried a lot of them because we were using it in the book. So we used different brands, and as Ethan was flipping these beautiful cocktails to make them eat, fit, and zero proof, we really experimented with a lot of those. And when we started on the book, it was in 2020, 2021, and the book published in 22. And we thought, oh gosh, are there going to be so many more options that we're going to miss out on by the time the book publishes? But what happened was before, when we were writing the book, you could only order them online.
Right.
But now you can find them at so many stores. Martin Wine Cellar has a great selection of these. So there's so many that you can walk into the store and buy it. And also the beers. I call them zero proof beers, but non-alcoholic beers.
Right.
There's a lot of craft type beers that are no alcohol and also still really low sugar.
Let me say this. Talk about the holiday season now. We're really right smack in the middle. Yesterday would have been 2 weeks till Christmas, right? And then you got New Year's. So really we have, until New Year's, we got about 3 weeks. We got 19 days, 20 days. Can you give people a game plan on maybe if they have, let's just say people have, it wouldn't be out of the realm to say you have 10 events to go to in the next 19, 20 days. What's a good game plan, a strategy for people that are trying to do the right thing, whether it be not drink too much, not eat too much, at least come out of the holidays looking somewhat like they looked before, or maybe even better.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned when you were kind of giving all the examples, you threw in Aunt Jane's that we were going to.
We all have an Aunt Jane.
And there's usually going to be something at Aunt Jane's that it's just that quintessential. It's that family recipe. It's only there once a year. That's the time you get it. And those are the types of things I would say are really worth it.
Right.
And we want to make sure we're freeing up space to have these things.
I love that you said that, because there's some things I just can't resist.
Right.
I mean, if there's a great oyster dressing out there, I'm going for it. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to do my cheat day already.
And it's not year round.
Right.
It's like especially this time. So I would say, I kind of use the phrase like negotiating with yourself a little bit, and negotiating for what's really worth it, because there are those things that it's only now, it's only at this time of year, it's only at that place. And we want to have it, and we don't want to feel bad about it. I don't love the words "I can't."
Right.
So I don't love it if someone says, "I can't have that." Okay, what else could we maybe make these trade-offs? And if there's certain things like, how many parties are you? And there's Ritz crackers or wheat thins and all these things. Pass on all that stuff and go ahead and have that oyster dressing.
Right.
And so having the things that are really worth it to you, passing on the stuff that's not. A big thing I always say too is when you're going to a party, if possible, bring something that you know is going to be a dish that's a pretty healthy option and it's appealing to you, because then other people are usually pretty appreciative of that too.
That's an idea I've never thought of. Hey, you're taking care of yourself and you're showing others. Hey, listen, you're in my head a lot when I go to restaurants now, and this is a fact. And that's a good thing, because I've gone to Slim Goodies since they opened. Now, even when I wasn't living in town, I have friends that opened this restaurant years ago. It's a diner, right? And a lot of heavy stuff. They put some of the best omelets in the world out. I took this picture myself, because you see those, it's hard to see. The two on the left, they got a little mark like an asterisk like, but it's got Eat Fit NOLA on those, and there's one on the right. Well, I chose one of those, and I'm gonna tell you, when you think you're ordering something and it's not gonna taste good because it's healthy, wrong. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm not gonna order any of the heavy stuff anymore. I used to get some of these that are just real heavy, like the bomb, and the Napoleon Benedict, the Jewish kunas. I mean, the crab. These things are delicious, but they're so heavy. There's 3 or 4 items on there, and I took a picture. Did you show that one?
Yes.
I took the picture of it, and I thought about you. Here's the, and I have this right here. It's Slim. I'm not advertising with Slim Goodies. I'm just saying, look, doesn't that look decadent? It's healthy. It's black beans. You know, the cheese is good cheese. You got eggs, of course, and it's not all the heavier stuff like the hash browns thrown in there and all the other things. So when you go, go ahead and comment on it.
So one of the cool stories about Slim Goodies in this menu, I have a screenshot of it.
Yeah, hold that menu.
Of Jerry Seinfeld holding it.
Oh, do you?
With Jamie Foxx.
Are you
because
kidding
you know how he has that show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
Great show.
They went to Slim Goodies. So they're looking at the menu together like, what do you want to get? And it was like this.
Are
And I
you
was
kidding
like,
me?
It was
You have a screenshot?
really cool.
Oh, so it was on and you screenshot like I did of those pictures you and Brooke.
Because we love, I mean, I wish he would do more of those shows, but Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, we watched all of them, and we knew Jamie Foxx, and we said, oh, he's in New Orleans. Oh, wait, is it Slim Goodies? Oh, wait, we see the Eat Fit seal.
That's crazy.
I mean, if you blink, you miss it. But it was there.
Okay, I want to find that picture because that might be my next promo for you coming up. One other thing, when you are going out on a general night with your husband to dinner, and y'all are gonna let it loose this time. You know, are there any mainstay? I'm not talking about the restaurant itself, but the type of restaurant you're looking for when you know you want to maybe cut loose and maybe not just get something completely healthy. What can you do that's kind of medium? You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm asking the question right, but
no, I think I know where you're going. So, kind of the way that I would look at a menu is, you know, what's that protein going to be? What's that veg going to be? It might be a fillet. You might be opting for fillet, which is still really lean.
Right.
And then you may get the creamed spinach instead of the creamed potatoes or something like that.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
And so those are things that are like a little bit. It's still not going to be a low-calorie creamed spinach, but it's still maybe going to be better than whatever that starch was. And then if you had that bread or that dessert or that cocktail, you're kind of balancing that, and that's your extra with your protein and veg in there.
I love that shot. Is there any circumstance whatsoever that potatoes au gratin are allowed?
That gets to Aunt Jane's house.
Right. That's that one thing a year. Because it's hard, man. You know, you grew up in New Orleans and Ruth's Chris, and you're just so used to that one bite of filet. You know, you kind of even dip it in the potatoes au gratin with all the cheese. And I know when I'm eating it, this is the worst thing for me. And that's the one thing, instead of getting that every time I go to a steakhouse, I only get it 1 out of 5 times now.
Right.
For real. And then because I'm not getting any younger, and I know if I continue down this path, it's not just for getting heavy, it's heart issues.
And there's probably places that, you know, like that particular place, you love their potatoes au gratin. Others that you might be like, yeah, it's good, but it's not.
100% right.
And so it is. It's sort of like making that trade-off and deciding, like, if you're doing that, then you're not going all in with maybe dessert and breads because you got the potatoes au gratin instead.
Was there any dessert, by the way, since you said dessert? Because I've stopped eating them for the most part, but I do get a sweet tooth once in a while. I mean, is there anything, we haven't talked about any of this, so I'm just catching her off guard.
Yeah, desserts are probably second to drinks. Drinks have become easier to navigate in a restaurant because of the zero-proof kind of movement in restaurants. Desserts are the hardest thing for restaurants to pull off and do it really well, healthy. And so I would say probably when you're going to those places, you're having the cocktail, you may be having a little of the potatoes au gratin. So in that case, I would say unless it's something that's truly special, I would just...
I'm just talking about at home. Like, I know you probably have something sweet you might eat once every 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything?
Yeah, at home, there's a lot of ways you can do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Give one go like king cake. It's king cake season.
Yeah.
Should people just never eat king cake?
Do you know we have an Eat Fit King Cake?
Where can I find one? Eat Fit King Cake, y'all. This might be the biggest thing she said all day. Come on, where is this?
We have an Eat Fit King Cake. It'll be available King's Day on through the season. King Cake Hub will have it. Robert's Fresh Market, places even like Home Alone, Oshner Fitness
This is
Center,
an epiphany.
Whole Foods Market. Yeah.
I had King Cake last year starting on King's Day for like 3 straight days. I got people give me gifts.
Yeah.
I ate it like crazy for 3 days, and then I cut it off cold turkey for the rest of the holiday season. It wasn't easy, but I did it. But if there's an Eat Fit, you said Robert's, you said the King Cake Hub.
So eatfitkingcake.com is the website. Robert's King Cake Hub, Oshner Fitness Center.
Eatfitkingcake.com.
It's almond flour based, and so when you're doing baked goods and you use almond flour, I like it because it doesn't look grainy, weedy. It still kind of has that white, soft, silky kind of texture.
Yes, that's what I need.
So this, the king cake, the Eat Fit King Cake is like a king cake meets a pound cake type of a thing.
Well, I'm gonna test your willpower because what's a restaurant that has not yet? I say not yet. I'm not saying it doesn't have it. It doesn't have it yet. Eat Fit NOLA. We're talking about Desi Vegas, Mr.
Yeah.
John's. Desi, I know you're a friend of the show. This is the gift certificate you're giving me to give out to the guests. So we got to include Eat Fit because I'm giving it to Molly. She's going to look at that menu and
Yes.
check it out for you. Here you go. That's it
Yes,
for you.
thank you.
That's $50 to get you going over
Fantastic.
there. That might not cover the whole meal at Mr. John's. Sorry, but
That's
at least
okay.
it'll get you going.
Yeah,
And then-
we'll ask Desi though on the Eat Fit. That'd be fantastic.
He's one of the best guys I know too, so I know he'll be receptive to it. And Task Performance, I think you got one
Love
of these.
it.
Do you like those though?
I love these. They're the softest. If your viewers haven't worn them or tried them,
They're
it is the
amazing.
softest cotton. It's amazing. Yes. Thank you.
I threw away all my other stuff. I say that all the time, but it's true. I threw all my other underwear away. I threw all the other T-shirts because it just feels so
Yeah,
good. I want it on
it's-
all the time.
Yes, it's perfect. This is
If I gave
beautiful.
you black, let me know. I think I have another color for you.
I had navy before, so black is
Oh,
perfect.
perfect. All right.
Yes.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
Thank you.
I hope you get feeling better.
Yeah.
And I always have to say this before in closing. I love watching you and Brooke. I know I said it last time. Brooke Lazier from Channel 8.
Yes.
Is it 8? It's
hilarious.
WGNO. I know that.
Yes, WGNO.
Not 8. 8's Fox. But I get those confused because I grew up with 8 being ABC back in my day. So yeah, it's 26 now. So yeah, these.
She's a
oh my God,
riot.
they pulled these shots out. Thank you for pulling those out. I didn't think we had time to do it. I screenshotted these last time.
That one I look a little wild.
Yeah, a little crazy right there. But Brooke had a cute look, so I gave it to her. No, Brooke and her friend are good friends, and I love all of them. So appreciate you. Brooke, keep doing what you do as well. And hey, listen, we can still have fun. We just eat a little better. Hey, I was the worst, and I'm getting better at it.
Sweet.
I gained 12 pounds when I was on the road all fall because it's hard to eat when you're going the entire fall. But I'm going to get better, and I've already lost 3 of those pounds. And I'm ready to get ready for the holiday season. I want everybody to enjoy them. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Hey, coming up next, we got Wilson Alexander. No relation, but I love him like a brother. He's coming up to talk about Jaden Daniels and the Heisman Trophy, and then LSU. What are they going to do in the future, quarterback? And what about Brian Kelly? Great the year he had. I thought he had a great year. Those 3 losses they had were all on the road against top 10 type teams, and they had the lead in the second half in all 3 of those games. They're continuing to get better, and we'll talk that to the guy that covers them every single day right here on Primetime Sports.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, I want to thank Molly Kimball from Eat Fit NOLA and Oshner Fitness, and of course, Dickie Brennan, who was in the beginning of the show talking about his family history with the restaurant, starting with Commander's Palace, and obviously his great restaurants all down the quarter, and his new baby uptown as well. But hey, we're going to switch gears and talk about the holiday season real quick, continue with that, because there's all these great stores that support us. So if you please go out and support them as well. This is the time for gifts. And Julia Mack, if you're looking for fine art, Julia Mack has some of the best stuff I've seen. I went to a big event there last week, and there's some shots from it, but they've got all kinds of different things, as good as it gets. So it's right there on the corner of Magazine and Austerlitz, which is in between Napoleon and Louisiana. But that whole stretch, you look a little Santa. He's even shopping at his own picture right there. But they're great, and Elysian's a store that's inside Sotra. That's just 2 doors down, right next to Task Performance, and that's Emily Morrison's Elysian. A lot of fine clothing. It's a little funky stuff, but she's got the stuff from all over the world there. And of course, Sotra is the store inside that houses Elysian, and they have stuff for your house and interior design living, the finer things like that nice. They're looking for that gift of somebody that you don't know what to get. A little knife set for a man. And they got even pickleball stuff, but fine stuff all over. Just check out the people and support the people, if you don't mind, that support this show, and I appreciate it. I don't ever cater like that, but you know it's the Christmas season, and you have choices. I'd love for you to check them out and just see if you like them. That's it. Hey, we're going to switch gears to LSU because we've been talking a lot of Tulane. Hey, I just had their interim coach on last week. Well, he's going to coach the bowl, but they hired a coach since then, and we're going to have their new head coach, John Summerall, next week, along with former St. Delvin Bro, and our friend Frank Duffy's coming back. But we haven't talked a ton about LSU except in my opens. So I wanted to get some LSU talk to kind of talk about what the season was and, of course, what just happened in New York City this past weekend at the Downtown Athletic Club when Jaden Daniels, who was kind of a long shot early in the season, then he became kind of a medium long shot midway, and then he just went on like a tsunami and passed over Bo Nix and Michael Penix, and the other guy that was there was the receiver Marvin Harrison. But He won going away. It was somewhat tight, but not that close. But no one deserves it more. The man accounted for 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards just about, and he was clutch. And those games he lost, that was the biggest thing against him. You know, I told you earlier, they had those 3 losses all on the road, and they had the lead in the second half. He can't play defense, too. We know Florida State wasn't his best game, but that was the first game of the year. But I'm going to tell you what, this guy was lights out the rest of the way, and the competition was there. You see the LSU base right there, and, of course, Jaden himself. But the guy who was there is sitting right next to me, and Ryan Clark, he's everywhere, isn't he? But we got Wilson Alexander. That's my cousin over here, but he was up in New York. We had Wilson on a couple years ago, right before the start of the last year's season, and once before that. But welcome back, brother.
Good to be with you, Scott.
It's good to see you rising up in the ranks, man.
Always great to see family, as it were.
It's family. Alexander's, you're from Georgia. I lived there for 20 years. Our sons, you and my son were in the same class. But
yeah, that's right.
I've just watched what you've done. Let's just talk about you before we get into this. When you came to Louisiana, and listen, I've been in places you're trying to work your way up the chain, right? You got the head. I know you were here in 2019. Now, 4 years later, I'm seeing you on Feinbaum, you know, not just the radio part, the television part. I've watched you go from, you know, just working at LSU, working on writing about LSU stuff and other stuff, to now being the lead guy for the last 3 seasons.
That's right.
I mean, that's pretty meteoric, man.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I just try to work my way up the business and do a good job covering the team, because there's so many people who are interested in LSU sports, and we just want to be able to bring them good coverage, accurate coverage, and tell the stories of about the people who are playing on the field there, the folks that they're seeing on Saturdays. And so we hope that everybody's enjoying that, and especially this year with everything that Jaden's been doing. And as we go into the rest of the Brian Kelly area as well, see how that unfolds. And so I appreciate the kind words and the support.
Well, I mean, were you here yet when they won the title? You were here when they won the title?
I was, yeah. I wasn't our lead beat writer yet on the football beat, but I was around for it and got to write about it and follow along. It was our columnist kept telling me, enjoy this, because it ain't always like this.
It ain't always like this, and you saw it. It went straight from that to mediocrity for a couple of years, and I'm the kind that gives, you know, a mulligan, man. If you're going to give us the greatest season in college football history, I mean, a season at 500, okay, we'll let that happen. When they had the second one, it's like, well, you saw the other side of LSU fans. Yeah, they can be this. And Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, we're all kind of the same. We love to win, and when we lose, it's not as good. I try to put things in perspective, but not normal SEC fans do that. But you've been here now 5 seasons. What has been your take about not just the LSU football fan, but the city of Baton Rouge and New Orleans in general? Is it anything you expected?
Well, gosh, I didn't hardly know what to expect, because growing up in Atlanta, LSU was this sort of thing off in the distance that you didn't quite understand.
Right.
And because its culture down here is so different from anywhere else in the country, and certainly different than Atlanta, and not different in a bad way, just like so individual, like so unique and individual to this place, specific to this place.
Yes.
And so what I've learned about it is just and certainly when it comes to football, is like most of the SEC, absolutely loves to devour football, and particularly LSU football, and so I guess that would be kind of, in terms of, at least when comes to covering LSU, that would be the reaction. And like you said, I know some people who were okay with one bad season. It's like, okay, maybe we sold our soul to the devil for a little bit. That's all right. But then that didn't last too long, because now you got to keep winning again.
They're all about the winning. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go side thing, because Scott Van Pelt says we're all from somewhere, and I love that. That gave journalists and reporters and media people the okay publicly to say, hey, I love where I went, and you went to Georgia, and y'all did a lot of winning, 2 straight national titles, a whisker away from potentially getting another one when Alabama beat you this weekend. But 29 straight wins, you got to have some pride for your alma mater.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely do. It's interesting as a journalist and one who's covering LSU, I try to be very, objective with my job. That's what I'm supposed to do, and I take that extremely seriously. So I don't, I'm not out really rooting for Georgia or anything like that while I'm working, because I am there to cover LSU and tell the story of LSU.
But when they have a score that pops up, you got to be like,
I am interested to see what happened, and It was, that is a fan base that suffered for a while because it was a long time where they did not always were close, but never always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. And so for Georgia, it's certainly a success. But even losing to Alabama last week, I think the sense from most Georgia fans, especially just talking to my dad, was that you can't win all of them. And so Georgia has certainly turned around into a program that is going to be in contention all the time, but you can't win it every single year. It was going to be extremely difficult to try to three-peat.
If that loss was early in the season and not at the championship game, they would be in. They were one of the 4 best teams. We all know that. I know. If you want to be honest, we take Washington out. As much as I think they're good, and I do Pac-12 games, so I've done them. They're very good, but they didn't want 2 SEC teams in. So next year we're going to have 12. Georgia's going to be in from every year from here on out, regardless of what happens in the SEC championship game. And this is what it would have been had they, done it the other way. LSU would have been one of the first 2 teams left out, Oklahoma and LSU. But if this was next year, this is what it would have looked like. And Georgia would be playing Ole Miss in a rematch. We all know how that would turn out, just like the first one did. But it's intriguing to see the other matchups in there, what it would have been. But let's talk about something that just happened this weekend. So you've seen a national championship, and now you've covered a guy that for 2 years that has now won a Heisman Trophy. Yeah. And obviously there was another Heisman Trophy in your first year. My lifetime, we only had 0. We had one before I was born, Billy Cannon in 1959, but LSU had no Heisman Trophy since then until 2019. Now they have 2 in 5 years. What was it like, first of all, being up there? I've been at I haven't been inside the thing, but I've covered it up in New York as well in the past when I was in Atlanta. But the fact is what was it like for you? I'm assuming this is your first time covering it?
Yes.
And being in New York and then covering Jaden and watching his progression as a player.
Well, to start with Jaden, to see somebody over the course of 2 years set a goal and achieve it is awesome to watch unfold, especially somebody who had come from Arizona State looking for something new, didn't have a great first season at LSU.
Right.
Well, he had a good first year,
good,
but there was still criticisms,
right.
And there were things that he had to get better at, and he went out and he achieved that, and he did that, and so to see that culmination over the weekend was, I think, gratifying for anybody who's been able to see him over the last 2 years. He was I think very humble in his speech. It was almost quintessentially Jaden from what we learned about him. He was calm, he was composed, he was a little, certainly confident, but not in your face about it at any point. And it was, I think really obviously gratifying for him and for his whole family. It was a complete whirlwind for them for a few days because he was also in Baltimore to accept the Johnny Unitas Award. And so, he is now he was the best player in college football this year and awarded as such. And to see the transformation that he took over the last year in particular to get to this point is incredible.
I've been following him since he was a freshman at Arizona State because one of the guys in my Fox crew was an Arizona State guy, so he talked about him nonstop when we're watching games. When we're not having our game, usually he's had them on. And to see the guy that's playing at LSU now compared to this guy who was super athletic, don't get me wrong, but he had no muscle on him, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn passing. I knew there was potential in there somewhere, but even from last year, and you're going to be the best person to talk about this, the passing accuracy to me and dropping dimes in, right where they need to be most of the time, as opposed to you hoping them getting there in 2022 it's been astonishing for me. And now you have the purple, the black and gold wanting him to play there. I had Doug Mouton on 4th down and 4. It's like, please draft him. Now this is amazing because this guy had NFL talent, but he didn't have NFL quarterback accuracy. Now he does. So have you noticed this? More than anybody. You see him every day, so it's not like seeing somebody that grew 5 inches. You're like, oh, I've seen him every day. But have you noticed from the beginning to the end where it is now how much more polished he is?
When Jaden was around this time last year deciding whether or not he wanted to come back to LSU, he was told by NFL evaluators, you're going to be a mid to late day 2 pick most likely, and the word that he kept hearing was you're hesitant. And Jaden wanted to prove that he was not hesitant and validate his belief in himself as a first-round draft pick. And the thing he had to do to get there was as a downfield passer, with his accuracy, with his touch, his anticipation, and all of those things improved. LSU did a remarkable job in coordination with Jaden, of developing an incredibly detailed off-season plan down to the day of what he was going to do every single day leading up into the year to become a better quarterback. And he followed that to add the weight that he needed to withstand hits, to deepen his knowledge of the offense, which it really helped that he was in year 2 of a scheme. Last year, Jaden had come in 2 weeks before preseason practice.
Stress that enough,
and there's exactly 2 weeks before spring practice, excuse me. And a lot of the year was just kind of getting up to speed and getting chemistry with the receivers and building trust. They already had that. And so this year, another thing that he was able to do was go out to California quite a bit with his personal quarterbacks coach, Taylor Kelly at 3D QB, continue to work on things in terms of, learning just how to rip it downfield pretty much and make those throws that we're talking about. And then you saw it during the season. A couple other things that really helped him out was Jaden started watching film at 5:30 every morning during game week. And then he was using a virtual reality training that LSU started beta testing with a German company to help his mental processing once he got into games. And so all of that combined to make him a much improved downfield passer in particular, and not just improved, the best in the country this year, 20-plus yards downfield. And Jaden last year, he averaged 7.5 yards per attempt, career low. This year, 11.7.
Wow.
The highest in the country by about a yard.
Crazy.
And that is a massive jump, and just goes to show that he has improved the part of his game that was criticized the most.
Put it this way, Brock Purdy's doing the best after 12 games at least. I know the best in NFL history at 9-point-something per pass attempt. 9 point. So 11 is crazy. I know college is a different game, but still remarkable. And it's funny, I'm going to say this real quick, because the rise meteorically, not the style of play, but Phillip Rivers, I remember, as a running quarterback in Athens, Alabama, went to NC State as the last guy to get a scholarship. Looked like he's still in a shot put when he threw the ball. And then even going into the last year of his senior year, they were like, you might get drafted, maybe. And during the season, we might be 7th, 6th round. Even right before the draft, say a few months, it was like maybe a 2nd or 3rd round. He was like the 2nd or 3rd pick of the draft. And I'm watching Jaden. It wouldn't shock me if he continues to rise, because he can impress people at the combine with different things, not just his playing ability, but he's smooth on the field. But I'm learning that time, so I want to say this. LSU as a team going into this bowl, 9-3, 10 wins are important to, Tiger fans. Wisconsin, I think they're like a 10-point favorite, right? Who knows what's going to happen in the game. But going forward to next year, I want you to give people some hope, maybe for, hey, we want to get this win. More importantly, what are they going to do next season without Jaden?
Well, it's going to be tough offensively. You have to expect some level of natural regression when you lose the Heisman winner at quarterback, and most likely your top 2 receivers who both went over 1,000 yards. And that's going to be something that LSU has to replace. It's probably going to help that they're going to have most of their offensive line, if not the entire offensive line, back. That's a fantastic starting point. But if you expect that to drop back a little bit, it's even more important to get better on defense. And LSU is going to have to be able to do that, whether it's adding some different personnel, whether it's changes in the coaching staff, and whatever it is that Brian Kelly ultimately decides to do there, they have to be able to catch up on the defensive side. It's a tough schedule next year. We'll get the full dates of that from the SEC here pretty soon. But either way, if LSU can hang around 10 wins, maybe even 9-3 next year might be good enough to make it into a 12-team playoff. LSU is going to try to continue to make those strides as a program.
LSU's always been a defensive school. This year, we knew going in with the defensive back situation would be bad. No idea it'd be this bad. And ironically, the defense might be covering the offense next season, because you're going to have all new skill position players, it looks like, and that's going to be different. But hey, something else has changed since I saw you last. You got married to a Louisiana girl, so hopefully we can keep you around a little longer. Is it Elise?
Elise, yes.
Elise. So we're going to give you double the gifts, okay? This is like a wedding present. Elise, we're giving you a shirt as well. Beautiful right there. Homo, Louisiana. And there's Wilson. That's the biggest smile I've ever seen on you. And I see you smile a lot. You look so happy, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So here are a couple Task Performance shirts.
Thank you.
And I'm going to give you cleaner one of these, but this is Shays Della Shays, which is uptown. Phenomenal, right there on right off of Broadway on Maple Street. And here's Mr. John's Steakhouse on St. Charles.
Thank you.
That is a phenomenal place. So enjoy. Thanks, I know you don't live here, but you come down. It's only 70 miles away.
Absolutely.
So enjoy. I appreciate you,
Thanks,
Wilson.
Scott. Appreciate you having me.
Keep following him. It's The Advocate. I should have started out with that. He is the lead LSU writer, football for The Advocate. You're doing some other sports too, right?
Just football.
Just football.
I'll help out here and there. I
thought you dabbled a little bit, yeah. But I know he's football. But check him out. You know where to find him. The Advocate. Times-Picayune. Go to theadvocate.com if you don't get the paper at home. Hey, I want to thank everybody. It's been a different kind of show. I mean, this is less sports than normal, but it's the holiday season. I wanted to promote that and have some fun. But we did get LSU, and next week we'll have, like I said, the new LSU Tulane's brand new head coach, John Summerall. Delvin Breaux, whose story is one of the best ever. He didn't play football for 6 years because of a broken neck. All of a sudden, he's starting for the Saints without any college experience, which was crazy. And then he had an injury that ended up ending his career. We're going to have him as well. And then last year's fan favorite, Frank Duffy, the man who could talk about anything under the sun. He's our Renaissance man. He's going to be talking, of course, sports, but we're going to talk about so much more. So stay tuned for that. I want to thank Will, Danielle, Alex, and Logan, and of course, Jim and Ron. I want to thank everybody at WLE. See you next week, and have a happy holiday. Thanks.